So there's a huge problem with the M1 Max, like the one in front of me right here. Your SSD will only last 5 years, for some of you, only 2 years. At least, that's what some of the news headlines are saying. So let's try to dissect the facts and find out if Apple is intentionally selling machines that will die quicker than you expected. But in my personal opinion, it does feel like news outlets are blowing this way out of proportion. But let's start at the beginning, shall we? So ironically, after I posted my 3-month review of my MacBook Air, a viewer commented saying, "Are you aware of the SSD issue? Google it. Many are talking about it. I really want to buy this laptop so much too, but for now, I will just wait." To which I did, and saw news headlines saying, M1 MacBook SSDs are facing a big problem. It could kill your laptop. Kill my laptop. Seriously? Bold statement. Apple M1 SSD lifespan threatened by latest alarming issue. Okay, yeah, my anxiety levels are reaching their peak reading these article titles. Apple M1 might be killing its own solid state drive. Users report this could be a massive scandal if Apple doesn't resolve the problem soon. So at this point, I'm convinced that my laptop is probably going to die in 10 minutes and unsure if it will ever boot again. So I did what any person with a brain does, ignore the headlines, read the content of the article, conduct my own research and opinion, since everyone pretty much copies and pastes the contents within the articles themselves. It's like Twitch chat copy pasta. So the story seems to originate from the user Never Released on Twitter, stating that Apple, this is not okay, especially as the internal SSD isn't replaceable. The machine is just a bit over 2 months old, where he showed an image of about 15.7 terabytes being written and 1% being used of its expected lifespan, keyword expected. Now, this issue stems from the amount of memory swapping happening. Even models with 16 gigabytes eat up a lot of memory for some reason and don't nearly do it on the same scale as Intel machines. Now, if we do some math here, on average, if you lose about 1% every 2 months, and let's say you buy today on March 1st, 2021, assuming in May you'll hit 1% and assuming it stays consistent till 100%, that's about 200 months or 16 and a half years. Now, I have no idea if Apple will still be a company in 2037 or if Elon will take everyone in a rocket to Mars, but he does make a fair point that SSDs aren't replaceable, which is the part I agree with and the part I think most people are upset about. Now, if you scroll down the Twitter feed, which mind you is very long, about 98% of people are at 0%, mine included. But there are some people at 3, sometimes up to 10%. So why are media outlets saying that this is harming the M1 Max specifically? That this computer is basically doomed and dead within 2 to 5 years? And I saw that there was some Intel users that posted on this Twitter feed as well. And there was a user who was sitting at about 5% at a year. So my math is pretty shoddy, but that's about 0.8% that's being used every 2 months instead of 1%. So her Mac will last her till 2041. I repeat, her Mac will last her until 2041. Now, from my judgment, if you recently got your M1 machine and you're sitting at anything above 3% or higher, that's where the concerns may come up, because there's a much higher chance that this could be your main machine within the next 5.5 years, and it more than likely will be supported within that time frame. The people at 1% screaming that this is insane, I understand your frustration, but I find it insane myself that you would want this to be your primary machine in 2037. That's 16 years. That's birth to puberty. All right, I know I'm joking a lot here, but this is a serious problem because this doesn't seem to be M1 specific. This seems to be a Big Sur problem on a software level. So guess what, media outlets? This could affect every Mac on M1 or Intel running Big Sur. You underplayed the situation. Now, there seems to be 2 main tasks that commonly cause this issue. All you have to do is open up Activity Monitor, add the columns byte written, sort, and boom. Hopefully, if my prediction is correct, it should be kernel task and launch D. If not, I probably look like an idiot. Post what macOS version you're on and your details below if you want to compare your others, because I'm interested as well. If you want to use the smart tools and see your total terabytes written, you can also post that in the description, the comments below. It really just seems like this was discovered on an M1 machine, and people in particular focused on the M1 Max when this issue could be plaguing Intel machines too running Big Sur. However, we don't know because Intel machines have been out in the wild for quite some time, and we don't know if this is a linear degradation. and we don't know if this is a linear degradation on the SSD. But like I said, no one really knows the full context of what is actually going on here. Now, Big Sur was built from the ground up. It wasn't an extension of the previous macOS versions. Like I stated before in my earlier videos, this was a huge change for Apple in the hardware and software department. We've been on 10.x for so many years, since 2001, and Apple was brave enough to switch to macOS 11, which is now Big Sur. Now, once again, I'm not saying definitively like this is a Big Sur problem, because that would be a big surprise. My jokes are so bad. I'm just saying from my observation and my research that that's where my judgment is leaning to. Now, my specific configuration and use case, I have 256 gigabytes of storage, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and I've been running Final Cut Pro, Safari, and Chrome tabs because I'm weird and use two browsers at once with well over 30 tabs combined, and I'm sitting at 0%. But I'm just one person, and just because I'm sitting at 0% doesn't negate the fact that someone's sitting at 3 or even 10% after a couple months with the same usage as me, because the root of this problem is still unknown. Now, it has been noted that these smart tools aren't the best in terms of accuracy, but assuming they are, why are people upset and news outlets saying that this is a problem? Let's start with the people, because that's who matters. So in the event a person does reach 100% of the manufacturer's TBW, which stands for terabytes written, which is the total amount of data that can be written into an SSD before it is likely to fail. Keyword, likely, meaning your computer doesn't automatically just die when it reaches 100%. You just have a much higher chance of your drive failing and performing slower when you originally bought it. Just like humans, when you get older, we start to degrade. Now, the real problem is Apple doesn't allow you to swap out the drive, which is common in Windows laptops. So if your drive does end up failing, you're out of luck. Instead of the user being able to replace just the component themselves or a third party at a cheaper price, you have to pay for a brand new machine, putting more money in Apple's pockets. It's like, people cannot be shocked that Apple is a $2 trillion company. When you have a business model that sells high-priced items, make the right to repair extremely difficult for non-Apple stores, sell insurance on products such as AppleCare and AppleCare Plus, deny problems are going on unless it's on a massive scale, butterfly switches, or you get hit with a class action lawsuit, then you decide to fix the problem, your evaluation will hit $2 trillion pretty fast. Now, I get the appeal of having a thin device, but I would much rather have a slightly thicker laptop and have the option to swap out the drive whenever I please. But in the world of macOS and just Apple products, you're stuck with whatever they give you. So I think that's the main reason why people are upset. Yes, there is a lot of memory swapping going on and degrading the SSD, but if we were able to swap out the SSD, I think people would be upset, but not on the level of, frustration that we're at right now. So I do agree that SSDs should be swappable out in Mac products. Now, moving on to the media outlets saying that this is a problem. So some media outlets are claiming that Apple is intentionally killing their M1 machines in 2 years. Now, I'm a cynical person, and when I read that, I was like, Apple said that this is a 2-year transition, and people are claiming that they're trying to kill their laptops in 2 years. It all makes sense. But after I did my own research, I found that this may be an extreme case that affects a very small group of people, but nonetheless still affects a group of people. It seemed that the media outlets saw some users are reporting this and thought, hey, this might be a great headline, instead of doing some due diligence and being objective about what's happening. Now, whatever the issue is, if it's software, Apple will probably push out an update, and the majority of people probably won't notice. But if it's truly a hardware issue and it's dealing with the M1 Max specifically, then I guess we get extended warranty, but it would still be nice if we could replace our SSD. But regardless, this is a problem that Apple needs to address. So I have to disagree with media outlets. Absolutely preposterous. I've always wanted to use that word. But no, it doesn't seem like Apple is intentionally trying to kill their M1 machines. So nobody truly knows the root cause of this issue, but it does lean towards a software issue, more specifically on the M1 machines in the new architecture with the memory swapping. Some users are reporting that the software people are using to view this data could be inaccurate and has been historically known for being up in the air. People are sending their reports to Apple, and if enough reports reach Apple, then Apple should announce some type of fix or warranty, software patch, whatever it is. But regardless, this looks bad on Apple's end. So should you be worried about the M1 purchase you made? So if you're sitting at about 1% after a couple months and you plan on using this machine till 2037, yeah, you should be worried. But seriously, I don't think you should be worried or consider returning your laptop, and here's why. Even if I was sitting at 1% after 2 months, I don't see Apple supporting this machines till 2037. The amount of headache Apple would have to deal with to support a computer and software for so long just sounds insane to me on a business level. Yes, it sounds nice for the consumer, but in actuality, 16 years of supporting this laptop is just insane. And personally, I can't even fathom a large portion of Mac owners using a machine for 16 years as their primary machine. 10 at most. 16, that's a stretch. So if you plan on upgrading within those 16 years, I wouldn't be worried. I would test yourself and see how much percentage is being used. But if you are a hardcore user or a power user, not to be cynical again, but you really expected being an early adopter for your main machine would be perfect when the CEO himself said that this would be a 2-year transition? Let's be real with ourselves. Anyone adopting new technology at the very beginning are beta testers, and you should most definitely not be using this as your primary machine if it's heavily dependent on your main source of income. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that. Now, am I worried? Nah, but if you haven't made a purchase yet, this may lean you towards getting the 16 gigabyte model because it seems like this is stemming from the M1 Max using 8 gigabytes, but we still don't know the root cause of this with the memory swapping. But if this is going to be your main machine for professional work, and when I mean professional, I mean absolutely destroying this thing for 8 hours a day, you probably should stick to something tried and true before jumping on brand new technology. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below of what you think Apple should do, what the potential problem is, or what your viewpoint is on this entire situation. I appreciate every sub, like, and comment. And as always, guys, much love. Apple.